Hello everybody, my name is Evan. I'm the owner and director of Bali Bliss Properties, and today we have here with us another fellow European Mediterranean business owner in Bali, wearing a couple of different hats. So you're doing amazing renders and you're also developing here in
Yeah.
Bali, correct? So yeah, here's Alberto,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So my name is Alberto. I'm the owner of Bali Renders. We focus on high quality 3D rendering and interior designs also. And sometimes I put the hat of developer, so I still have my own projects also here.
Great. Thank you for coming here today. Well, since we both are involved in development of properties one way or another, what do you think makes Bali unique when it comes to, yeah, what are some of the unique points of building in Bali? What I can think of is definitely the weather is quite extreme here. There's some constraints about material or expertise of the locals that actually build the villas. What is your take on this?
On building and architecture area,
On building, I guess.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, I guess since you do also the design, how does this impact the design? Because, for example, I'll tell you my story. A lot of times I'm reluctant to do something really fancy in designing because I'm asking myself, who is actually going to implement this, right? How
Yeah,
do I see
understand.
this in Bali? So there is a constraint, I guess, there,
Yeah.
right?
For us, in terms of design, is unique because it's like the tropical type of climate. So we play with the designs that are like fitting that with the plants, with the type of wood and all this kind of stuff. So it's very interesting because within the tropical we can still do many ranges. We have clients that they go like kind of Moroccan style, like
Yeah.
cream colors and different finishings, which maybe later is a bit harder to find the toucans that can do it, but it's possible. And then the standard Mediterranean white is
Also,
very popular for a
yeah.
long time already. So I think Bali is unique because of the brand of Bali, and that you have many people from everywhere. So you can do still like you can go risky. It's not a big deal. I think you can go with something very different, and you will have an audience because people come on holiday. Maybe they want something specific. So the nice thing about Bali is this: you don't have like a city that everything kind of fits
Yeah.
in the city the same way. You
True.
can have villas that are themed for something. So like Instagrammable villas,
True.
and it still works, yeah.
I have even seen some like uh, Santorini, completely
Yeah.
Santorini
Yeah.
replica kind of
Yeah.
villas and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, I guess everything goes here.
Yeah.
From very brutalist design to minimal to loft, New York loft house
Yeah.
to Mediterranean. It's
And
crazy.
sometimes, even if the design surprises the being like, oh, will this be done? Then you see the client actually managed to build it, and it's like, okay, it's possible to do
Okay.
most of the things.
Yeah. Well, we don't know how much of an effort went there to
Probably a
finish
lot,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. So, since we both have experience in building projects here in Bali, what do you think are common mistakes people do when they're building here in Bali?
I think choosing the right location
Correct.
is the main thing.
Yeah.
And then also, once you have the location, also what kind of plot. Not just, think about access road, think about the
Infrastructure, like
shape of your
shape,
plot,
electricity, I guess.
Yeah.
For this project, we had to make a new substation or something like that. So that's another expense and takes
Yeah.
more time. So, yeah.
And that's still okay, but if you choose, let's say, I don't know, the last land in the gang downhill,
Yeah.
you need to think that how you're going to solve the water issue
Water
later,
issues,
because
yeah.
otherwise you're going to have like a swimming pool of a house.
Yeah. A lot of people, I think, they just say, yeah, whatever. It's good
Yeah.
the price. I'll buy the land without
Yeah.
thinking through these things.
Yeah, I think it's worth it that people spend some time researching which area first. So in terms of speed of sales, or if they're going to use it for their own as a rental, or
Yeah.
find your goal first, and then choose the location, and then choose the type of plot that fits what you have in mind. Maybe they still don't know. Maybe they still need somebody like us to design.
Yeah.
But at least have an idea of the plot. Don't take a weird plot and then expect to have like
Yeah.
something easier.
Yeah, which is typically difficult for someone not doing it professionally to see what can be an issue or. But then I think location itself, especially if we're thinking about how commercially successful would be the project, location plays a big role.
Yeah.
Where do you focus when you, where do you have, where are you developing projects now?
I would focus, depends, like I said, if you want a speed of sales or if you want maybe slower but cheaper cost, better ROI maybe for clients later.
Yeah.
So if you want speed of sales, I would focus as close as possible to main areas.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Whether it's beach or whether it's something that you will have a lot of people, so it's going to be easy to rent out later. This is what seems to be selling quicker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also depends on the design and on the concept. Like we have people that are building amazing things, maybe are not in the best location, but they're selling quick too because they're
They're
very
amazing.
different. But yeah, that would be, for myself, I would focus maybe on speed of sales, yeah, as a developer. But for a rental point of view, maybe you prefer, higher ROI, so you get some land a bit farther that is cheaper land,
Correct. Yeah.
and you still can offer, a high ROI.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with you. Is what you said. Like the closer you are to all the attractions, the more expensive it will be, but also the faster you will sell, right?
Yeah.
Or the highest, maybe the rent you command. I don't know if that's going to be reflected in a higher ROI, but definitely right. Yeah. So we also try to have a mix of locations, but I find that some of the more successful I have is they're sitting in the right in the limit between not too far away, not too close to everything.
Yeah.
Because you get the best balance of price and all the benefits that come from something.
Yeah,
good.
it's like in between for pricing, also for customers. Yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. So, but thinking about mistakes on the building, it's not. It's not just I think the location and the design itself, but I think it's something we mentioned earlier about the going back to the design, that people need to think through some of the particularities of Bali and the weather, the material commonly used, or even the tukangs, for those who don't know, is
The workers.
The workers, yes. Because, for example, I've seen some examples of things that don't make sense, like to have like a window on the roof that slides, and that's like a big headache for life. Knowing what I know in Bali, for example, with so much rain and again the quality of installing all these windows and frames and stuff. So going back to your design business, how do you deal with these things? Are these some of the points you take into account when you're designing here in Bali, or at least do you tell your clients that I can draw this for you, but be aware that this might be a problem when you actually realize
that's mostly the case, because we follow what the client has in mind, unless
Yeah.
they come like completely like a blank
slate.
slate. Yeah.
Yes.
Then we propose something from scratch, but normally they always have some idea, or they come already with some design with low quality renders, so we have something to base off. Yeah.
Okay.
If there would be something that is off based on Bali, we would advise, like the second scenario you say, we would tell, are you sure about that?
Yeah. But at
But
the end, these
normally
are
we
the-
respect what they have in mind.
Okay.
But I think so far we never had somebody pushing for something that was going to
Too
be a
crazy.
problem later. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
not a big issue. But yeah, they always need to take into account the water, like
Yeah.
coming from the ground or coming from the
Groundwater.
rain. In Bali, this is standard.
Yeah.
So they have to, once they are building, they have to take into account that.
Yeah.
And also land movements, like you will see cracks everywhere because the land is always like moving. So if you do like window in the roof, find a way to do it properly, because
Yeah,
you are gonna
absolutely.
have both things like rain plus movement, so maybe some cracks in the joint. So yeah.
Yeah, actually a very good point. And I'm not sure that everyone is doing soil tests before they build here. Because in Bali it's like very common that you just find hard soil and around 2 meters, so they just plan for this, and they just pray that it works.
Yeah, and I think because of the recent boom on developments, also most of the lands, they didn't wait enough to be like settled, or
So
maybe they raise the level of the land, or they make retention wall, whatever. You put new land that didn't settle,
yeah,
so it's gonna at some point it's gonna move. And you see, I think in most of the local houses, in local villas built by local developers, you see cracks everywhere.
yeah,
So it means that I think the developers that are now building,
yeah.
unless they pay attention, they will have it also.
Yeah, and I mean, I have to say, before I started building here professionally, I started with my own villas. My very first villa faces this problem because the local contractor, I don't know exactly what is the situation, but I do face the cracks.
Yeah, it's standard. Seems
Yeah,
like the land.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I think it's because they are rice fields, they are not dry enough.
Yeah.
Plus, it's an area where it moves. So
Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, at least it was a big learning. It's expensive, but big learning for me. So now all my projects, we do a very detailed soil test. We understand what is the soil, what is like water content in the soil, and what exactly we need to do in order to not have this.
yeah,
Or even if there is movement in land, there's nothing, there's no impact in the building. So it's really
and
tight,
also not to
tightly.
scare people. Like, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
If you have cracks, it's easy to
Yeah, to
maintain
remediate,
it.
yeah.
But what I meant is mostly if you have it around some place where it's gonna let water go in.
Correct. Yeah.
So if you are trying to avoid water to come in the house, you know, take into account that it can. It's not like now it's perfect. Maybe in a year something will move and then it's not gonna be. So make it easy. You know, make the
Yeah.
looking nice but simple solutions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm very much into not only things that look beautiful, but also be 100% functional,
Has to be
right? Because
practical. Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's a house for someone or like a accommodation for someone here. So that's the primary
Yeah.
reason.
And yeah, I would say I would add also for the guests. I mean, for the buyers that they want to rent it out later. Also for maintenance, like
Yeah.
the more solid that you build something that lasts longer, the material are not like breaking every 2 years. Also better, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's funny that we're thinking the same way. Like when we have like a typical, we build different things, but we have a standard villa design that's kind of foolproof. So even if the technicians don't do a great job, it's quite protected from water as much as possible. We're sitting in one now, so
Yeah.
it's like the openings are like very standard, and it's very few places that the water can come in. So yeah, because I know that when someone sees something might be more beautiful, but when you have it for 30 years and you're renting it, what you want really is to not spend your money on maintenance and unsolved problems because so we had this before, like again, before I started building professionally, both me and my wife were building villas here for ourselves, and we went extra with the design sometimes, and this cost us 2 years of trying to figure out how to seal some of the points from water.
Yeah, it's still possible to blend it, but once you live here and you know the challenges of this kind of climate and like I said, the soil and all this stuff, then you can adapt the design to it.
Exactly. So perfectly possible to blend it, as you said, but you need to do it with intention, knowing where and how to play. Now, speaking about Bali villa design or Bali any project design, according to your understanding, what is trending now? What is that people want? I know I have asked you for my project something more Mediterranean, but I don't know, what's the trend? What people are asking usually?
Yeah, it's still like modern, minimalist type of villas is what we see the most. But also for the clients that they go a bit more out of the box and they design something different, we see also that they stand out more on the listings. So it depends on the level of risk maybe from the developer, because sometimes maybe something very innovative it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But we have some developers that they like this, so when it doesn't work, they just assume it as a part of the business,
Okay.
and then they always try something new and pretty good results also. So I would say the standard is minimalist, tropical, modern, but we have some different ones. Yeah.
Okay. Well, tell us a bit about what are these crazy or innovative designs?
Just like I said, like changing instead of all white,
Yeah.
like more like cream, salmon colors, like more type of
The Moroccan.
Moroccan.
Thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
The type of finishing in the walls is different, like more sandy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a complete different vibe, but for their audience, seems to work. So
What do they use? Do they use clay for the finishing?
to be honest, I don't know exactly what material, if it's like some kind of micro cement or if it's some
Yeah.
other stuff. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So, and you say that this Moroccan thing can be risky, but also not.
When I
Correct?
speak
Yeah.
to these clients, this is
Yeah.
how they vision. They say
see
they
it.
try things. Until now, they all the time work, but
Yeah.
if they would fail at some point, they would just come back to design
Correct. Yeah.
and try a new one. But until now, they didn't have any issue. So it seems like
Yeah, it looks like. So I saw a project somewhere in Uluwatu area for a spa that had exactly this Moroccan kind of design, and to be honest, I really liked it. I am personally a little bit of fun to never forget where you are and have
yeah,
elements from the
Yeah.
region, not like completely bring a Moroccan thing here.
Yeah, yeah.
But I have to admit, some of those are really
Yeah.
tasteful
yeah. I think even like with the design that you did, the new one, it's different. So if you target it for your audience, I think things that are different can work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because also there are so many developers now, new developers. So we're gonna start to see many of the same white thing.
Yeah,
So at some point,
this is
if
too
you
much.
find your niche of audience, for rentals what they want, you can still stand out in the listings. Yeah.
How do you make a project profitable, not just beautiful? Is there something you take into account, or how do you approach this?
Like-
So let's say if you wanted to build for yourself.
Yeah, for ourselves. So, like I said, you would target your audience. Yeah. You know, if it's like short-term rentals, so you first focus on the audience and then you design according to that. That's what I would do. So, yeah, it depends. It really depends on.
So if you do more of a, let's say you want to do more of a rental property, what are things you pay attention to?
Yeah, so maybe more Instagrammable spots,
Correct,
like
yeah.
you try to blend the appealing villa with whichever way you want to go about the design, like
Yeah.
for, yeah, it's not the same. You make it like a beautiful villa, like a stunning villa, but it's not practical for families, and your audience is families. Then,
Yeah.
yeah.
Correct.
So you try to blend it to the audience. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. To be honest, while we're doing our management, the rental management now, I don't think we have done the exercise to really see, who's the core people of our villas. And I have always been thinking, okay, if it's rentals, it has to be practical also, because okay, they will take one picture a second, then it's all about comfort here. But that's just an assumption. I think it's very interesting what you're saying to create, these Instagrammable corners perhaps inside the villa. Cool.
Yeah. Personally, for me, I always focus on practical. Like, even though can make different styles, has to be practical.
Yeah.
But this is my
Yeah, I think it's possible to not have to compromise
Yeah.
completely on practicality in order to be, something really nice. Yeah, that's the best, obviously, to combine both. And then the next question I have is, according to your understanding, because you have a lot of clients that come for renders and stuff, me including, how does the design impact ROI, or in general, like what are the benefits of someone really paying attention to the design and renders if they want to sell their project?
Yeah, we after project normally we ask the customer like, what's the results on their sales, and we see the ones that sell better is the one with the better renders.
Yeah.
Like, sounds like I'm just saying but it's the case. Like two of our bigger developers recently, we asked them, they're pretty much sold out, or maybe 2 villas left to sell.
Okay.
True that they have good location, yeah. So like I said, it's a combination. But they tell us that the renders in the listing, it helps to
Helps
have
a lot.
like high quality renders.
Yeah.
So I would say, yeah, maybe for a smaller project, if they didn't calculate, because this is the first time developing, they didn't set the budget for, high quality, maybe just go
Yeah.
with what you can and try to do it. But for bigger developments, we noticed that they know the value of selling faster with the renders.
Yeah.
And it seems to help a lot, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I just have to say it's true, because we have used your service a couple of times, and I mean, it does make a difference. Like you can find renders around, but only if you go to high quality renders and good designers, then you see really a difference.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can discuss a little bit more about actually Ocean Bliss is the apartments project we designed with you.
Yeah.
So this were almost sold out immediately, very, very fast,
Yeah.
I think. And
Good location also.
it's a good location, but I mean it definitely helps because apartments are. I find they're like an interesting project to sell because, well, with villa you have a lot of benefits like you have a pool, you have space, but with apartments you have to compromise on all of these things. So I think designing thoughtfully the interior and make it as beautiful as possible and the user experience overall is nice is really important.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad we worked with you guys for this. So, but I have to be honest, talking about renders, I think needs to be, it's not just, from my perspective, it's not just go and, ask you, do the best design you can do. Anyone who wants to have some really good renders, they need to consult with someone with experience on what are some of the constraints. Like, it goes back to what we discussed before, you need to design for Bali, for taking into account location, the weather, whether it's facing the sun on which side and all that stuff. So there are some constraints, I think, that I would definitely bring to the table when discussing the design, including also material availability. Yes, it's true, you can bring anything you want in Bali, basically, but there are some serious constraints that I think anyone who would go to build by themselves for the first time, they wouldn't know.
Yeah.
But this is our job, right? I'm faced with implementing the render to how to match the render with the reality. So, and this has been difficult a lot of times because there's not the right expertise when it comes to the workers to implement. If it's like some strange corners or like all these things are like very few people that can execute at a good level in Bali, unfortunately. And this is something that whoever wants to build something need to think up front. So
Yeah. I would say depends, like I said, on target audience, depends on budget of the developer.
Yeah, of course.
So if, you can adjust to local materials that, are easy to source.
Yeah.
You can adjust to, like I said, your budget of your project. Maybe if you cannot do like something super crazy, then keep it a bit more simple, but it's still nice.
Yeah.
So adapt to all this stuff. But the main thing is you start with the architectural design, and then renders come later.
Yeah.
Yeah. For us, we have the two type of clients: clients that come from the scratch, so then we design specifically, or clients that come already with a design, and our job is to make it more appealing, like to spike more emotion into the customers when they see the render. So it depends. Yeah. If you start from the scratch with the nice design, then that's the way to have the renders that they are possible to make later.
Correct. Yeah, and this I want to make a point here because what you said, starting from scratch with someone who has experience in Bali, I think is very important. Well, many people have experience, but I would urge anyone to look at people's portfolio, what they designed, what was built. Because, the easiest thing is that, what's a typical situation? Someone has, 200,000 on the side. They have come a few times in Bali because they're expats and live in Singapore, right? And they say they have met this very sweet Mr. Ketut that helps them every time they come here. And then Mr. Ketut says, Mr. John, whatever, I have a very nice land for you, is my cousin, standard situation. And then they say, okay, this is my brother's best friend that builds, I can give you very good price and stuff. And they go into the process little by little, enchanted by the Bali, vibe and the sweetness of the people. But the truth is that when you do it this way, you might face some issues that you could avoid if you go with a developer. And I know because I've been this guy, right? I've been the guy before I started building here. I had a different job. I'm an engineer by education, but I used to work. I have also business education, so I used to do something on the business side, and I started building for myself and my wife separately. So we faced a lot of these problems. We've been through the process. So what are the problems you face if you do it this way on the design? And why it's very good to deal with people that have a track record is because, you know, if the architect doesn't have the right experience or doesn't understand the expectations a Westerner might have on how the usability or the user experience should be, it's really hard to get it from the beginning. For example, switches of the lights. Very simple. You don't pay attention at the beginning of the architectural drawing, you just see the drawing of the house and you say fine. But it's so important because we had cases in which the switch was at a place that it was so awkward. You had to close one door, open another in order to press the switch. And this costs money and time, right, to fix it. And sometimes it's really difficult to draw new lines to put it where you need to. This is one of them. Then and so many other small, especially on the usability and the user experience. So I totally agree, you should start from scratch with people that understand what are your needs. Chances are, if you're coming from some of the Western countries, you're used to a certain way of things work. To have for 100% to have, for example, if not a window, to have some exhaust fan for the bathroom. That's not a standard need for people that maybe are not from the West. So all these small things that at the end of the day, they have a huge experience, impact to the experience of those who are using the villa later.
Yeah, and it can slow you down on construction, like you said, if you have to redo or stop the workers.
Yeah.
So,
but sometimes you just cannot fix it, right? Because it's too late when you figure out. And I have this again, like that's how I learned all these things, by getting the mistakes myself before then I got so much experience from so many mistakes. They said, okay, now I have to monetize that, this experience. So yeah, it's crazy. So not only the switches, but also where the spots are going to go. All these things are super important, but you know, when you build like without intention and not thoughtfully think about everything, it makes a big difference at the user experience. And then at the end of the day, that's how much money you can command on the rental market, or how much you resell it. If something is like doesn't make sense inside the house, then you pay it one way or another.
Yeah, yeah. Some of our client experience is that like if they're building a big enough project, they have a budget for each area, and they have a budget definitely for design and plans and renders and all the stuff, because it's just another section of their investment. So yeah, as long as you organize your budget properly and you have each part like covered, it's good. But if you try to skip because this can be done, then it's not too professional.
No, I mean, I've seen a lot of, I'm telling you this, I understand that the big investors are probably, these are the more professional guys, they come to you, right? Because they know that they need your services. But there's so many other people that are like either wannabe developers or like a one-off developer, or they say, why should I give my money to a developer? I'll build it cheaper. Mr. Wayan told me, or whatever, that I can do it cheaper. And they will run in these problems 100%, 100%. So I'm just saying it's not a cash grab if you go to a developer. I mean, you need to make research because there's developers and developers. But if you go do the research, see what they have delivered, go visit what they have delivered, then you know at the end of the day, you're probably going to save money.
I think so.
Than the other way around. Let's talk about the collaboration we had for Ocean Bliss. So I want to start by saying it was awesome working with you, because I could not put in words really what I had in mind. But then when I saw the results you brought, I said, that's exactly what I had in mind. And it sounds like really, it's absolutely true. I have to be honest. And I really like the fact that, I could not put it in words. I just told you some stuff like minimal and Mediterranean stuff, but tropical at the same time. And then I sent you a few of my inspiration, for example, and you managed to put everything together so nicely. So what are the key elements you think you build your design around?
Yeah, you have like the apartments already, the layout,
Yeah.
and some idea of colors and kind of stuff. So we try to make it like more just market ready. Try to spike some emotion into the people by the shade, the type of the angles of the renders, but also like the kind of fogginess or like blurriness. Yeah. So just try to make it attractive. Yeah. You have
Yeah.
already a clear layout and where things more or less should be.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to make the appearance just more exciting. Yeah, for people.
Yeah.
That was the goal. Yeah.
Yeah, what I really liked is that it looks lifelike.
Yeah.
So not too over 3D, not less, but as you said, with this fogginess and the
Yeah.
blaringness and stuff, it just really framed the right places of the apartment. And I think also, to be very honest, I don't know if it was intentional or not. These are apartments, are not like particularly spacious because it's not a villa, right? It's like more confined. But you managed to depict it in a way and design it in a way and use the colors in a way that just feels more spacious and more happy place. And it's exactly what I had in mind for someone who wants to come for a few days in Bali to stay in an apartment close to the ocean. So yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, it looks good. Also, we pay attention to the materials. Like if you look, all the materials are easy to source.
Yeah,
Like the stones on the wall, the
exactly.
terrazzo, the thick wood.
So this stone is particularly interesting because it's from the region basically. There's like I think it's hexagonal Jakarta white stone, so it's like from the region, and it's quite common here. But I really like because it brings this this connection with
Yeah.
Bali nature. Actually, it's part of Bali's environment or the areas. You see a lot of these colors also from the Uluwatu side, from the Bukit, which is more of this kind of geology, let's say. So I was really happy.
Yeah, colors, plants, everything blends quite good in this one. Yeah.
Yeah. So my point was how to bring a little bit of this Mediterranean, the whiteness and the brightness and all that stuff, modern, minimal, and tropical at the same time. And I could not think of any better way to blend all these elements in such a small space than you guys did. So thank you so much for this.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So what you felt was the biggest challenge in designing, like creating the renders for this space for Ocean Bliss?
Yeah, I guess like in every apartment, the size is limited. It's not like a villa that you have a big pool.
Yeah.
So you have to think very well how to make it usable in a way that is spacious as much as you can. Yeah. So we try, like corners or things like this to make it, like I said, also the angles. The angles are real. It's not like we try to make it bigger than what it in reality, but make it in a way that shows clear. You have kitchen, you have living room, you have bathroom, and it shows like different areas. Doesn't feel like everything is on one. That's the main challenge. Like make the apartments with a nice layout and a nice appearance. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you did it very well. And as you said, you're not overhyping it. So I've seen like renders that they take angles that are outside of the property and stuff, and this is not realistic.
That would hurt the sales.
Exactly. At the end of the day, if someone buys and says, "That's not what I saw," right? So I appreciate the fact that you took angles that that are within the apartment. So, as I said, you make it lifelike, and that helps a lot to communicate our idea and why we designed this thing to our clients. So it's a great tool for communicating. So thanks for dealing this way with this challenge. And what do you think makes these little apartments unique? I mean, we placed the bathtub next to the to the window, right? And I did not know how this would look, but to me, it's really the highlight. The way you designed it, I really liked it actually.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it blends with the. I was also at the beginning surprised, like how do we do to blend it with the bed that is so close. Yeah. But no, it looks nice. I think it probably is the spot of the villa, like sitting on the corner and having the mini pool.
Mini plants pool, yes.
Yeah.
So to close the Ocean Bliss collaboration, just as of today, June 2025, it's only one apartment left, and we have started the construction. with PBG, and it took forever with PBG. I know we did the drawings and design way back, but it took us around 7 months to get the PBG. But now it's been already underway. So we started construction a couple of months ago, and we can't be more excited.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I'll let you definitely know when it's finished to come and.
Yeah, later we can check, we can shoot it even. Yeah.
Exactly.
Nice.
Yeah, and then let's talk about the second project we had together. So my idea was to do something where Ocean Bliss had a little bit of my culture, so the Mediterranean aspect of it, of course blending with the local elements and stuff. But then I really want to pay tribute to Bali, and I knew that by myself I couldn't design something that is really speaking to my vision. So that's why I came again to you.
Yeah.
I know that you're good at articulating my vision or putting it on paper. And my idea was to really recreate some of the Bali's natural beauty, but also the feeling you get when you're driving around in the middle of the island. I was lucky enough to be here during COVID when the tourism was quite slow, and I traveled a bit around without a lot of crowds, and I witnessed all these lush greens and the volcanic rocks and the water and all these natural elements, and that's when I came to you and say, you know what, I actually sent you a picture of where there was a waterfall with black rock, and I said I want to do this in a villa. How to do this? And I love that we started from scratch, because obviously you're very good at you're a designer also, among other things. So, and you and your team, I mean, so you came up with something that are really nice, and I really enjoyed the end result. How was it for you? Was it challenging? Like, because it was something very specific, right? I wanted you to focus on this material and the feeling and the light and all that stuff. So how does this process look like for you?
For us, I mean, project that start from scratch like this is the most fun, because then we can use all our potential, right? If we have only renders, it's still good. We can improve them. We can make them high quality, but this is like different game. So yeah, you sent us just I think the layout or the size of the land.
Yeah, I had the only concern I wanted to give you was the size of the land, to have something to play. Don't make it completely, anything, but something that I could sell also afterwards.
And then the picture of the waterfall. So for us, it's like we can really go wild with creativity. So we started first with the layouts to optimize it, to make it, have the 3 bedrooms and 2 floors, and in a way that is, ergonomic, like you can live there, but it's also sexy, let's say.
Exactly, yeah.
And then we started with that. After you approve this, then we move to the renders.
Yeah.
So for us, we enjoy a lot. This kind of thing is the best. And until now, luckily, fingers crossed, we always hit at the first with what the client wants.
Okay.
On the other side, can be challenging, because as an owner of the company, I also want the clients to be happy and to make it all smooth. So if we have only one picture and not too much, it can be that we go in the completely
wrong direction.
So it would take a lot of, but luckily until now we didn't, and we enjoy a lot this, like the process. We can really be creative.
Yeah.
So yeah, we like all about this project, like all the colors, like darker stones. It's completely different. Like we don't see many of that here, and at the same time blends, like you say, with waterfalls that you go, in the middle of Bali, and then you see. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I have to be very honest. Like, I'm not trying to hype you and your business, but I have to be honest. When I saw the results, like the rooms with using this darker wood and stones and stuff, and the water element, it really, gives you the same feeling. It's like some, I don't know, for those who are listening or viewing now, whether they've been to Bali in this kind of lush forests and the waterfalls, you always get this, awe from the nature and stuff. And this in Bali is very specific. And, I really feel the same when just by looking at your renders and stuff. So you definitely hit the right mark, I think, on helping me create this vision ahead. So thanks for this. This we haven't started building yet, but I'm really glad we have this concept and design in our, let's say, portfolio, and we can offer to our clients.
Yeah, this is linking to what I said before. Is this kind of specific, type of that you take a bit more of a risk because it's different. But I think this one is easy to like, so people will,
Yeah.
they will,
Yeah.
agencies, everybody will have.
Yeah, because, and a lot of people tells us, we want something different because now Bali is not, it's maturing when it comes to to villas and apartments. So everyone is constantly looking for what's next.
Yeah.
But if I had to bet to something that is going to be timeless and every time in demand, would be something that really speaks to Bali itself. Like if people love Bali, then it has the elements of Bali.
Yeah.
You've got to like this thing, right? So
Yeah. So that's why I think it's a different but safe bet in the sense that it's different but it's still blending. So it's easy for even local people to like that you make this kind of stuff because it's blending their culture still.
Yeah, and I mean, I still yet have to test it because, as I said, I haven't built it yet. But I was talking, so I'm Greek, right? So and we also have some special design, especially on the Kyklades islands, so like Santorini and all the islands around. And I was talking with a resort manager in a very high-end boutique hotel. And he was telling me he wanted to build a villa here, but we were offering him, what usually people buy in Bali, and say, no, I want something that really has strong connection with the elements of Bali. And now I can see why. That was years back when I started building, and now I see why. Because and that's why I also designed this this project, because he knows from his experience, like this boutique hotel does absolutely well because and can command a lot of money when it comes to daily rates, because it's for the season tourist, for the person who wants to have the experience, not just spend time abroad, but just by living there, feeling more connected to the actual place. So I totally see that, and I think, in my opinion, that would be something that I would be focusing more in the future.
Yeah.
But speaking of that, what do you think is the situation with villas and apartments in Bali?
Because we're connected with many, as a developer, but also design, and with many agencies, we talk regularly to see what's the market. I think the opinion is like bigger developers, the one established, they're going to continue because Bali is a strong market. But maybe new developers that are starting now, maybe copying things that were working in the previous years with the smaller projects, they might be the one that suffer a bit in the next maybe 1-2 years, that things might slow down on these kind of developers.
Yeah.
That's what I...
No, I totally see why. I agree, first of all, because there's been a huge boom here in a construction boom in Bali. Big reason why is the barrier to enter on paper is small. So people see it's relatively affordable, relatively easy to put together, the contractor and stuff. But only when you go through the process, you realize that it's not that cheap and it's not that easy. So I see it as a good overall thing, the fact that it's not for everyone, Bali, to build. Because it will kind of cleans the landscape, and it makes everyone else who survives and stays as a developer to be more professional, more intentional with what they design, what they offer, and of focusing on value to the clients rather than... I know there's a lot of people that just said, I'll just build 3 villas, grab my money, and make then another project. And then they figured out the wrong way. It's not like this. So I'm happy if these kind of people, stay out, because they're just giving a bad name to the villa market, right? Because someone is buying these villas and then they find all the problems
issues,
and that the value was not really there for the money they paid. So yeah, I see that happening, and as a lot of these projects are coming to finishing and didn't go as people are expecting. But I think it's good for the clients, like for the next investors, because there are going to be more villas that the villas that are going to be now on offer will be from people that know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So that's my point. Well, what about on the, if we go back to the design, I think we touched upon, but what do you think is the future of Bali, like the trends and stuff? What is,
I see moving towards more experience, like designing something that is based, like has a story behind. I think because of the saturation of too many constructions,
yeah, have
people
to differentiate something.
have to differentiate. Yeah, that's what I like. Small brands. You see also like in small cafes, small yoga Pilates studios. The cutest ones, are the one more successful.
Correct, yeah.
So yeah, tie a story to your project.
Yeah,
And make
correct.
it different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, I think, something that hasn't been done diligently here in Bali in the past, but because of this competition, you have to differentiate and you have to get better and all that stuff, which I think is good for Bali, good for everyone.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
So finally, what do you think, what's your advice for someone getting into buying villas, investing in real estate in Bali?
If it's somebody that wants to invest into villa, of course, check the listing, check for developers that fits with what your audience wants.
Correct.
And yeah, and definitely don't try to build yourself if you are planning to do it in this way, because you're gonna save probably a lot of headaches and time.
Yeah.
If you come as an investor that wants to maybe start into real estate, maybe start small, just with the villa, learn, everything that can go wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe start already with a good design, with good renders, so you speed up a bit on the sales, and just learn from the process the first time, especially. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. It makes sense as a as a suggestion, let's say, as a recommendation. But how often people don't follow this? Because my experience is like the big pockets and big investors that are not already in Bali, they start small. They buy from me, one villa to just test the assumptions that everything works, and then we'll go big.
Yeah.
And the smaller investors, they just always think that by building myself is maybe cheaper or something, without knowing all the headaches and the money that the headaches convert to.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely follow your advice here.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you so much for being together with us here today.
It was fun.
Yeah, it's always nice to discuss with people in the same industry. We're facing the same issues, problems, and stuff. So it's always nice to share our understanding and our angles. So if you want to see more of Alberto, we're gonna link his video in which we discuss some of his experience and also a little bit more about Ocean Bliss that we co-developed. So yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.